Okay, okay, it looks like... Yep, okay, it looks like the recording has started, so I'm going to hand over to the chair, Councillor Anna Abella.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Anna Abella, and I am the chair of this special licensing subcommittee. I'm going to start off by asking the other councillors on the panel to introduce themselves. Councillor Adamu.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gina Adamu. I'm a councillor for Haringey Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Da Costa.
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Nick Da Costa, member for Highgate Ward.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask the legal advisor to introduce himself.
Robin Levitt, principal lawyer, advising the committee.
Thank you. And the licensing team leader.
Good morning, I'm Dale Barrett, licensing team leader.
Thank you. Could I ask the committee clerk to introduce himself?
Yes, my name is Nazia Chowdhury. I'm Democratic Services and I'm clerk to this hearing.
Thank you. And could I ask the notice giver to introduce themselves?
Yeah, hi, my name is Eugenia Moffat. And yeah, I'm the owner of Bloomington trading as Gina's. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moffat. I can't see you. I don't know if that's an issue on my side, or if your camera is off.
Let me see. I don't know why my camera is saying it's on. Let me try again.
Have we lost Ms. Moffat?
I think she's going to try and
Rejoin.
Yeah, she's got to come back in.
rejoin again. Yeah.
Okay, we'll give her a couple of minutes.
Can you see me now?
Fantastic. Yes, we can see you. Thank you so much. So, Ms. Moffat, I just have one question. Do you have a representative with you today, or will you be speaking on your behalf?
Yes, I do, but he's in court. He said it will be a bit late, so I could start. He said
Okay.
it'll be about 5-10 minutes.
Okay, let me just check that with our legal advisor. Is that okay if he joins a few minutes late? Yes, okay. So I'd now like to ask the objectors to introduce themselves. So I think we have objectors from the noise team. Could you please introduce yourselves? If the noise representative is not here.
Chair, I don't think the noise officer is here, and I think that's due to him being on duty across this weekend.
Okay. Could I ask the representatives of the police to introduce themselves?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Sergeant Monica Malika. I'm a Haringey Police Licensing Sergeant, and this is my officer here.
I'm PC Kerry Dedham, and I'm one of the licensing officers for Haringey.
Thank you. So I believe everyone has now introduced themselves. So if there are no further introductions, I'll move on with the agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and it will be available for public viewing. Are there any apologies for absence?
No apologies received, Chair. All members are present.
Thank you. As this is a special meeting of the subcommittee under Part 4, Section B, Paragraph 17 of the Council's Constitution, no other business shall be considered at the meeting. I'll now turn to the other councillors. Do members have any declarations of interest?
No, Chair.
None to declare, Chair.
Thank you both. I'll now move on to summarise the procedure. The procedure for this meeting has been emailed to all participants by the clerk. For the purposes of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, objectors will present their case and the subcommittee and notice giver will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the notice giver will present their representation and the subcommittee and objectors will have the opportunity to ask questions. Please keep your camera on while speaking. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the committee to deliberate and reach a decision. I think we have established that we are going to give the decision verbally on this call. So the way this is going to work is that the councillors and our legal advisor will move to a deliberation room to discuss what our decision will be, and then we will come back to this call to communicate our decision to you. The decision will also be sent in writing in the following days, but you will have it verbally on the call, given that this event is scheduled to take place quite soon. Is that correct, Robin? Sorry, you're on mute.
Find my mic button. Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Excellent. So if the parties could stay on the call while we deliberate, so we can rejoin you and communicate the decision. There are a few more procedural aspects that I need to run through. First of all, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. We will take all papers as read unless there is anything you wish to draw our attention to. All speakers will be allocated 5 minutes to speak. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time, unless you request an extension of time, which is at the discretion of the chair. Please do not share addresses of speakers. In the event that there are several speakers for each party, please avoid repetition and perhaps consider having a spokesperson to address all concerns. So we'll move on to the main item on the agenda, which is the consideration of an objection to a temporary event notice at Blooming Scents Cafe. Ms. Barrett, can you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Chair. So the panel has before them for consideration a standard temporary event notice submitted by Blooming Scents for 639 High Road for the 12th through to the 17th of June. So, Chair, apologies, my typo on that there. And these are to coincide with allowing the premises to operate additional hours due to the Beyonce concerts taking place across those days. The paperwork before you, you will see that you've had representation submitted from the ASB noise team and the Met Police as objection notices to this temporary event notice. And the notice itself is requesting to be able to offer licensable activities between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. for up to 100 people. That's going to be with regulated entertainment, sale of alcohol, late night refreshment. The police objection, sorry, the application, the TENS notification itself, you'll find at Appendix 1, and you'll find at Appendix 2 the objection notice that was issued, which combines both the matters from the police and also from the noise officers attached. The premises has had the benefit of TENS in similar situations previously, which have led to noise complaints from nearby residents and intervention by ASB officers on duty at the time, Chair. And just to notify the panel also, so the noise officer is unable to be here today, and they have advised that in fact they had cause to visit the premises over the weekend also due to noise levels. Their note says that they visited, carried out a license check, all was well with the license check. However, the noise was an issue as it was very loud from street level. I think it was being done in that way, the officer says, in order to try and bring people into the premises, basically. So words of advice were given to the license holder. Within the legislation itself, the license holder or anyone is able to give notice under A10s if they wish to offer licensed activities on a certain during a certain time period. And that's what the applicant has done here. The police and the noise responsible authority have 10 working days, Chair, in order to, sorry, the application should be in within 10 working days prior to the proposed date, and the police and noise RA have 3 days in which to turn around that application and give their view as to whether or not they believe what's been requested was going to impact on the licensing objectives. In terms of what the licensing committee may consider here today, they may decide to accept or reject the 10s today. Chair, I'm just trying to run through to give you the opportunity to ask questions. Chair, I think that's the general layout of the matter before the panel today. If you'd like to ask any questions, or I may assist you in any way.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Councillor Adamu, Councillor Da Costa, do you have any questions for Ms. Barrett on what she's just presented?
No, Chair, it was the talk very clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will now move on to hear from the objectors. I think the only objector we have with us today is the police. So I'll hand over to them and you have 5 minutes to present your objection to us.
Many thanks, Chair. Monica Malika, Licensing Sergeant. So I'll begin from thanking the licensing officer for outlining the case and just explaining to the chair and the committee and the applicant the reasons why the police, as the appropriate authority, refused this temporary event application. There has been the rationale for rejection is obviously in the pack and the bundle, so everyone has had the opportunity to view the police response. I will give you just a little bit of an additional information that we have managed to obtain through intelligence since the Beyonce's concerts started taking place. We've got several dates around the stadium and a few reports with regards to the business that is run by the applicant. One of them related to a phone call made to police by residents from a nearby care home pertaining the antisocial behaviour happening in the car park behind the premises, and that was playing loud music, people screaming, and the alcohol being consumed. The member of the public has made the call to police, stated that this occurs on a regular basis, particularly at the weekends or during the events. And then there was a few other reports with relation to events at the stadium, one being during the Hotspurs Victory Parade, where in the vicinity of the premises, although I accept potentially not related to the premises, a member of the public was robbed of their mobile phone device. Another reports that we've received where, and this is something of a concern to us, is that there's been a number of drugs paraphernalia that has been found in the car park at the back of the premises. So snap bags and nitro oxide canisters were found dumped in the corner of the car park, and these were seized by the officers. So just to put this into perspective of those in attendance today, the car park is not accessible by general members of the public because there is a barrier that lifts on the code, so not every member of the public would know the code. We are also aware that the car park can be accessed from the premises by the exit near the toilets, and it can be accessed by anyone. The premises license states that the licensee will ensure entrance and the exit is controlled by the trained security staff. Officers conducting a visit were able to freely enter and exit the premises, and as quoted reports, the members of the public are reporting in groups at the back of the premises. So that will support the rationale. We have also used the refusal to that application in order to prevent any offences taking place, and we don't believe that the licence holder would uphold licensing objectives, and would question the reason and the rationale why they are requesting to keep the premises open until 1 o'clock. For the dates that we're looking at, the 12th to the 17th, those are the dates of the events for Beyonce's concert. And the attendees, the crowds are anticipated to be mainly families, females and children. And therefore, we've taken the view that we'd like to prevent any offences taking place late into the night, hence why the refusal has been put in. Anything else you'd like to add? I think so. That's it from us.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll now turn to my fellow councillors to see if they have any questions, and I might raise some additional questions myself after that. Councillor Da Costa.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much for your submission. In your objection, you've indicated the application is vague. Did you reach out to the applicant to respond to any requests for further information or clarification? And if so, did you receive a response?
No, we didn't. We didn't reach to the applicant. We've, with regards to all the upcoming events at the stadium, given to how violent it has become in the recent few days, we've taken a decision to refuse the application.
Thank you. How does the vagueness of the application affect your ability to assess and mitigate public safety risks?
Normally on temporary event notices, we'd like to see how the applicant would uphold the licensing objectives. So maybe suggesting extra door supervisors, what they're going to do, like dispersal policies, things like that.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that there's been a couple of visits recently to the premises. Were there any security or SIA staff around the premises? You've mentioned the free access to the back, but at the front of the entrance, were there any SIA or security on duty?
Yeah, so there was officers on patrol as part of a hotspot policing exercise, and they were doing patrols around the area, around the back of the trampoline. And I think they've entered the premises to check everything's all okay. They've gone through the back to the toilet, and then there was no security there.
Okay, thank you. Chair, that's all the questions for me for the police team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Da Costa. Councillor Adamo, would you like to ask your questions?
Thank you. Nick, actually, you stole my questions. I was going to ask similar questions. Can I add another question following from my colleague? You said you have spoke to Ms. Moffat. Have you at any point spoke about the dangers of the behavior of the people living her premises? And I was just wondering, would there be any communication between the police and Ms. Moffat that took place? And have you actually arrested anybody as well? I'm worried about your comments about the drugs as well. And if there were families and children, is really concerned about that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. So let me address that as far as I can, step by step. So with regards to the arrests, there has been no arrests. The drugs paraphernalia was found in the car park. So we can't attribute who the drugs would have belonged to, whether they were linked to the premises or not. However, the calls received to police relate to the back of the premises. So that's to answer the first question. With regards to communication with the applicant, I personally, neither did my officers, had any communication. We received about 90 applications for temporary events last month alone, and due to different staffing abstractions, we're working on only one officer. So we weren't necessarily able, didn't have capacity to reach out to every applicant to carry out thorough conversations officers with regards to security and how they uphold objectives. We've taken a view that we will use the refusals to prevent crime and disorder, and therefore why we decided to take that stance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adamu. I just have a few more questions myself before I open the floor for the notice giver to ask their questions. Firstly, I'd like to ask, is this the only, are there other events happening in this area at a similar time, around about the dates of the Beyonce concert? And if so, has the police objected to those events as well, or is this the only TENS that the police has objected to?
Chair, I'll answer that question. The police have refused all the TENS for the events and the concerts, so not just for the 6 days of the concert, but also for the events, and that's across the footprint of the high road, where we have situated 19 premises. We are aware that there's been a communication between license holders via different ways. We've received that communication directly to us. We don't know what's been said, but the applicants have been, the license holders have been discussing amongst themselves. We have addressed it during several patrols whilst working at the events, and we've spoken to a few license holders who have agreed that this measure will, because sometimes things got out of control for them on the several events. So they've agreed that this is probably the best way going forward. We have also advised them that we'll be looking at reviewing it periodically. So it's not a definite no for everything going forward from now, but it's for the events happening at the concerts, and that's a measure that has been adopted just for those events specifically.
Thank you. I just want to play that back to you to make sure I've understood. So you have essentially adopted a policy where you've objected to all events in this area, specifically around about the Beyonce concert, or all concerts in this area?
All events at the stadium.
All events at the stadium. And
excuse me, Anna, can I cut you for a second? I think the lawyer is trying to log in. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Someone is trying to log in, get in, but they're not able to get in. The representative for Genus.
Okay. Could I please ask you to raise a virtual hand before intervening in this meeting? So that we can manage this meeting effectively. But I think the clerk can look into making sure that the legal representative can enter the meeting. Are you happy to take that action, Naz, to ensure that the legal representative can enter the meeting?
I mean, I don't know, because the thing is, there is only one link, so I don't know what the I don't know what the situation is with not being able to enter it, as several people have. So the link is published online. I can resend it, or the licensing officer can resend it. But I mean, there's no technical wizardry that can be done. I mean, you click the link. If you want to tell me what the issue is, or if you want to email or something, I perhaps can help some way. But yeah, it is, the link is quite obviously working.
Miss Barrett, did you want to come in on this particular point of the legal representatives? No. Are we able to give him a call to see what the problem is, Naz? Or do we?
Yeah, I mean, again, if somebody wants to send me an email, I mean, I don't have the
Okay.
representative's phone number.
Okay, I think Miss Moffat, if you could make sure that Naz has the email address or the phone number of your representative, we will try to see what the technical issue is and why he's not able to access the meeting. In the meantime,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to my questions to the police, and then I'll come to you, Miss Barrett. So I just wanted, again, I wanted to make sure that I've understood. So basically, the police has adopted a policy of objecting to all events happening in establishments near the stadium when there's a major event in the stadium. And if I understood correctly, all the other establishments have agreed to this approach except for Miss Moffat's establishment. Is that your position?
That's correct. Well, I understand there isn't a policy to object and to put a blanket to it. So due to the violence and the number of incidents that happened during the boxing event at the stadium, and that's after the boxing event at the stadium, we have adopted that approach for the period of initially 3 months. So that's not like a policy per se to say no to everything, but it's obviously based not like, and the applicant quoted in her refusal that you can't just say no for the sake of saying no, but we have actually experienced and witnessed the level of violence at the boxing, and the other colleagues from the licensing authority can vouch on that. So based on this, we've worked with the license holders across, and they are aware, and their applications for extensions to their trading hours have also been refused. And they have spoken to us since, and they have agreed that this approach would potentially help them going forward.
Thank you. I'm just going to finish off my questions and then come to you, Ms. Barrett, if that's okay. When you say you've observed a level of violence, what do you mean concretely? What are some of the incidents that you've observed?
So we have worked during the boxing events. It was the high road was extremely packed. It was a different because we obviously are used to the sporting and football events being run at the stadium and managing that ingress and egress with the 67,000 people attending the high road. Boxing was somewhat another event that's offered by the local club, and the audience was particularly violent. There was a lot of GBH reports that were reported to us. The premises, not necessarily the applicant premise, but other premises have struggled with controlling the audience that attended their venues prior, during, and after. There were 310 applications granted for the event of the boxing. The venues were absolutely packed. The levels of SIA numbers and the controls where they were themselves struggling. So that's the rationale that supports our refusal.
Thank you. I just have 2 more questions. The first is, you mentioned that one of the instances of ASB you noticed near this premises relates to loud music and people screaming. The days that Ms. Moffat has submitted attends for cover both weekdays and weekends. Would you consider it acceptable for the attends to be granted for the weekends and not the weekdays? Or is your concern across the board for the entire period that Ms. Moffat has submitted the attends?
The biggest concern would be at the weekends. So there was a stipulation that the most challenging are the weekends because they attract more customers per se, be it within the community or those attending those events. However, within that phone call, the informant referred to the gatherings happening all day, every day, but in particular during the weekends.
Thank you. And my final question is, to what extent is the ASB you have witnessed clearly linked to Ms. Moffat's presence, and is there certain ASB that could potentially be caused by patrons of other establishments or individuals who don't have a connection to her establishment?
This is a good question. It probably would benefit from the noise team if they were on the call to answer that question, because they would have the attendance to the noise calls with regards to us and to what we can refer to based on the data we've got at the evidence. So we've witnessed and seen the attendance at the car park that, as mentioned, can be accessed via the exit door that should have a security at the door, and it didn't when we were there at the back. That has been witnessed by us, but I think the noise team would be the best team to answer that question, Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett, I think you wanted to come in earlier.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, the police have spoken to or addressed the questions that you were asking around the reasons behind things. So, as the police officer said, so from the boxing, there has been a lot of feedback from residents who were having to deal with the ASB issues that arose from that event, both from, you know, not just people noise, but lots of street urination and the drug taking and so forth that was taking place in the location. And then, of course, the area as a whole then went straight into the Spurs parade planning, and that being staged, and the fallout that happened from that also. And you know, as we looking forward, so we've got the 6 days here of the events, and I suppose, you know, the responsible authorities are able to take a preventative approach to ensuring that licensing objectives are going to be upheld and promoted over this period of time. It doesn't mean that going forward that, you know, obviously TENS can always be submitted and they will be looked at and dealt with, you know, on the basis of merit, basically, as and when that they do come in, Chair. And Chair, just to follow with your noise one, so I've outlaid, because obviously I had the information through from the noise team over the weekend about them visiting the premises. You asked about noise. So yes, it was an issue at the weekend, and they did have cause to go and visit the premises. And in terms of who else is nearby, there is one other restaurant, I believe, a few doors down. But yeah, no visits or complaints relating to that premises for best part of a year, from what I can see.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Can I just confirm, has Ms. Moffat's representative joined the call? I assume not. Ms. Moffat, do you have any questions for the police?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry I've dragged everyone this morning. I'm quite disturbed in what I'm hearing today, and I'm really
Ms. Moffat, you will have time to present your position, but at this stage, I just want questions.
Yeah, the question I wanted to ask, the noise. Do you know what? Let me just represent myself. I don't have any questions, but I wanted to clarify something about the car park. The car park at 639 does not belong to me.
Ms. Moffat, if it's not a question, you can present this in your representation later.
I'll wait. Yeah, I'll wait.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Ofosu, you have your hand up. Did you want to come in?
Yes, I was going to
Sorry,
say...
Chair, can we please establish who Mr. Ofosu is and in what capacity he's speaking first?
Yes,
Please.
if you could confirm who you are, because I don't have you on the list of confirmed speakers.
Okay, my name is Bedford Ofosu, administrator for Genus. I just wanted to clarify the situation of the lawyer. When you asked the question, that's why I raised my hand before.
Yes. Are we happy to take this, Robin, just because I know Mr. Ofosu is not on the list of confirmed speakers? I think it's just a procedural point on the lawyer.
it seems to me that Mr. Ofosu is simply trying to get the lawyer onto the call, in which
Yeah.
case, yes.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Ofosu, could you let us know what the issue is with the legal representative?
Yes, I think he mentioned to me, because I just spoke to him now. He said when he clicks on the link, his browser gives him an error. I'm not too sure whether that has to do with his computer or anything. However, he's still trying to get in. So yeah, just thought to let you know.
Thank you. Mr. Ofosu, perhaps you could either send him Mr. Chowdhury's email address or send Mr. Chowdhury his email address so we can try to understand if there's any issue. But the link worked for everyone on the school, so it sounds like the issue must be a technical issue with the legal representative's computer rather than an issue with the link. But if you want to pass on his contact details to Mr. Chowdhury or vice versa, we can do that. Okay. So if there are no more questions from the police, I'm going to turn to Ms. Moffat. You have 5 minutes to make your representation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, I'm really, I'm quite surprised at what I'm hearing from the police. I would say even on the day, we had about 35 or 36 police officers using the bathroom. What literally they use our facilities for toilet, whatever they use the toilets. That's all the parking attendants, all the officials. This is the place where a safety net where you have a lot of police coming in to use this premises. At no point, one single time, has anyone said anyone was in danger or anything like that. This is a family-run type of business where family and friends can come and is not structured as a pub or a drinking venue. It's more friendly settings, more tables and chairs where people can sit on sofas, have drinks with their family and friends. Going back to the parade, the whole place was filled with people on the whole high road. We couldn't even come out of the shops. We had enough security staff to take care of that. Everything I'm hearing from the police right now, I just feel like I'm being victimized for I don't know why. My premise is big enough. It's bigger than all the shops on this high road. The car park, secondly, the car park does not belong to me. I don't have control over the car park. The car park is being run by Temporary, where they rent where they take event parking and charge for the car park. That's nothing to do with my premises. The premises why I take care of is the front and the back door. If the officers all those officers who use the bathroom facilities can tell you every time they come through, someone qualified security staff opens for them to go to the bathroom. I had a security staff standing by the toilet, monitoring who's using the toilets, who's not using the toilets, and making sure the toilets and everything was cleaned. So with the intent of this whole high road, we know is a big drug problem. There's never once any drugs or anything is been associated with my building, with my restaurant, I'm very, very, very angry about that, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to run. I'm just getting really offended, but I work with a lot of young youth in the area. Yeah, big strong problem. The whole high road, from in front of Sainsbury's, in front of the corner shops, everyone, we've had this problem. We're always reaching out for help to deal with this problem. The TLR decking, on the decking, you have people taking drugs 24 hours. That is got nothing. That's not beyond my control. That's not my problem. That belongs to the GLA. That is got nothing to do with me, but I do my best to move people on. So all these things getting attached to Gina's, I don't understand where this is coming from. And you saying people, there's after parties. I've got after parties happening at all these local residents, at all these shops next to me. And you're telling me that I'm the only one. I feel like I've been victimized and I don't know why. And I don't know what I've done wrong. Anytime I have an issue or there's an issue and licensing or everything, say, Gina, this is what you need to do. This is what I make steps to do that. The last time I applied for a license, they was and had an hearing. They told me all the things I need to do. I've gone to that. I've gone to that step to do that. That's going to cost me £5,000 to do. I've managed to put the money together. The work is starting from tomorrow to get all the sound monitors and things limited. Now I'm worried when I've paid all that money, you're going to find ways and means to stop my business. Is it that Gina's doesn't want to be on, you guys don't want me to be on this high road? I don't know what it is. I'm asking for help. I'm asking for the police to come in to tell me, how do I run this business? I know what I'm doing is the right thing. But if you guys are seeing differently, it's for you. We're all in this community together. It's for all of us to work out how to make this road safer and people to have a good experience of Haringey. I've had people who's been robbed on this high road have come to me for shelter. I've given them my phone. We've called the bank. We've called everything. This is the safest place.
Miss
I can say on
Moffat.
my heart that
Miss Moffat.
is on this.
Miss Moffat.
Yeah.
Your 5 minutes are up, so I'm going to have to ask you to conclude. But thank you for your representation. We have a Mr. Godwin on the call. Can I just confirm, are you Miss Moffat's legal representative? Sorry, you're on mute. Mr. Godwin, you're on mute. We cannot hear you.
Thank you for your indulgence. I sincerely and unreservedly apologize for any unintentional delay in joining the meeting. I tried just about 11:40 to join in, but I couldn't do otherwise until I have to fiddle around. So again, sincerely, thank you for your indulgence. I'm not sure, Madam Chair, if I have the opportunity to submit something or.
Miss Moffat has intervened, but we'll now move on to questions, and you can decide with Miss Moffat whether you would like to take some of the questions that are asked. So the intervention has been presented by Miss Moffat. I will start by opening the floor to my fellow councillors to ask questions, and then Miss Moffat, Mr. Godwin, you can decide between yourselves who among you is best placed to answer the question. Councillor Da Costa, Councillor Adamu, do you have any questions for the notice giver?
I do, but I will let Gina go first so I don't steal any of her questions again.
Thank you. Ms. Moffat, I am surprised that you, in your speech, you didn't say anything about the noise, basically. As we understand from our council officer, there were noise complaints over the weekend, and you haven't mentioned anything about that. You knew you were coming to this panel today, but there were still problems over the weekend, and you seem to have, if it's correct, which I'm sure it must be, if the officers they file a report, why you allow that? Surely, as the licensee, you have responsibility to make sure you have understanding of the licensing legislation, and also the responsibility for how to run and the noise pollution, how to control it and deal with it. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Moffat or Mr. Godwin, would you like to reply?
Can I answer, please?
Yes.
During on Saturday, it was literally about 7:45 to 8 o'clock. We had two gentlemen who came to the premises and saw the security at the door and asked for what's called to ask the CI license. So we pointed at the license and took it off the wall and gave it to the gentleman. And he said to us, oh, he was walking past. So we said, so I came, I was there, and there was Bedford was there, Mavis was there, security was there, all the stuff. So we started to pat. I was like, oh, okay. That time everybody was in here, and then we asked, oh, is there an issue? It said he was literally walking up on the high road and heard the sound, so he came in. We said, oh, is there anything, what is the levels on the noise? And he said, oh, it was just by his ear. He spent about 10-15 minutes in here. And he said, oh, I know what you guys are trying to do to try. I said, yeah, because even we have to close at 10, so we're not having anything afterwards. And it's just literally everyone is just enjoying the vibe going inside. And he said, oh, one of my staff asked, Mavis asked, oh, what is the levels? What is recorded? Said, oh, we haven't recorded any levels. We was just going by, and we was called to another premises down the road, and we just stopped by here just to check the licensing. So nothing was given to me to say you've breached anything or you've done anything or anything like that. Nothing at all. He was just saying, oh, he was going past and he heard the sound as he was going past. That's why he came in. So that's why, Councillor Gina, that's why I never mentioned it, because he didn't say that we've done anything that hasn't. He just wanted to check what license we have, and that's what we gave to him. So this is, so this was why my surprise that this has even come to this meeting. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it already or said it to, I would have taken note, because I was so precise and so thing that I didn't want to jeopardize anything in the process of this meeting. And I know this meeting was happening. So just even that, in that time, it was around 7:45 to 8 when in here was started being empty. Everyone was already making their way to the stadium. So that was what the incident, what happened. That's why I didn't mention it.
Chair,
Thank you, Ms. Moffat.
May I briefly say something on this?
Yes, and then I'll go to Ms. Barrett, who I think wants to come in on the same point.
Thank you so much. I've been a councillor, Ms. Moffat, a long time, a lifetime.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge and experience, officers will come out only when there are being complaints. When people make complaints about noise, officers will come out to check on it. They don't just walk by and by accident go into, as far as I know, things may have changed and I'm not aware of it, but as far as I know, those officers were there because residents in the area actually pick up the phone and complain. If I'm wrong, I'm sure the licensing officer will correct me.
Councillor Adamu, at this stage, we can only ask questions. What is your question for Ms. Moffat?
My question is, you've been running this business for some time, I assume. Surely you know that the officers that come, the noise officers that come because there's been a complaint by residents.
Yes, Councillor Gina. That's why we, I asked the question personally, and he said no. There's literally, because it's a big event like that, they're patrolling the high road and they're going to another premises, and they just happened to walk past mine. So it wasn't they hadn't had anyone who's complained, definitely not. And this is why he just happened to stop by, because he heard. And so I asked the question, have we gone over a certain limit or whatever? Is it, because I know due to there's a reading where they tell you this is the level, you've gone over this level. So we asked that question, he said no. So if they can ask the noise team if they recorded any levels or anything like that, or if they can let us know there was no complaint. to the address because they'll have the login. There was no complaint attached to this establishment.
Thank you, Ms. Moffat. Ms. Barrett, do you want to come in on this particular point?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I just clarify, please? So just so that members don't get don't come away with the wrong information. So there is no level, okay? So the only time the local authority is setting a level for noise from a particular venue is when we have like the large events. So the stadium, for instance, has strategic measuring points around it to the nearest noise sensitive, the nearest residential premises, and there are a number of measuring points where the noise levels have been set in attenuation with the sound levels coming from within the stadium. And the same thing is done also at Finsbury Park. Nearest residential, there is sound limit set. For premises such as Blooming Scents or any other premises, any other unlicensed premises, cafe, restaurant, there are no set noise levels anywhere. Okay, it just does not happen. That does not happen. And I think it's important that the license holder is very clear on that. There is no set level, so there's no point in you asking the officer that because there is no such thing. So on a separate note, Chair, I'm a little bit perplexed because I know Ms. Moffat has just said to you all that she spent some money to get to be compliant with matters, which were actually as an outcome of the variation that was granted some time ago. And those things should also already have been in place. So these are noise limiting matters really that were meant to be in place once she started to operate under the new varied hours of the license. And clearly that's not in place, but yet those hours are being used. Also, just to clarify from the noise officers matters, the issue here is that ensuring that licensing objectives are being upheld. So the prevention of public nuisance, the officers briefing from the weekend was that noise levels were loud from the premises. It was loud at street level, which is what attracted our attention, and we therefore went to visit the premises and ended up asking questions and giving words of advice as to what steps to take in order to reduce that noise, basically. So from the officer's perspective, subjectively, they were in the high road and went to the premises because of the levels of noise coming from within it. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. So I have a few different participants on the call who have their hand up. The police have their hand up. I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask questions of Ms. Moffat once the councillors have finished asking their questions. So I'm not going to come to you first, but I will come to you later. Councillor Adamu, can I just confirm you've asked all of your questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yes. So I'll just take the legal advisor in case there's a point of information he'd like to make. So Mr. Levitt, and then I will come to Councillor Da Costa's questions.
Yep.
Robin?
Yes, I have 2 points of information. One is that the variation was granted at a hearing on the 4th of November last year, and the variation to which the licensing officer referred. The other point of information is that when noise teams, noise officers are considering the question of whether noise constitutes a public nuisance, as Ms. Barrett has pointed out, there is no set noise level. It's a question of their knowledge and experience as qualified environmental health officers to understand what is and what isn't a nuisance. And so the answer to a question of a noise officer, how is this a nuisance, or at what level did it become a nuisance? The answer is my experience and my qualifications tell me this noise level is a public nuisance.
Thank you, Mr. Levitt. Before I come to Councillor Da Costa, Mr. Godwin, did you want to supplement any of the answers to Councillor Adamu's questions?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It's interesting that there is no definitive quantifier about the noise level. Would maybe Mr. Levitt agree with me that noise, as we understand it, can be misconstrued and subjective? Would he be happy to clarify that?
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. Robin, did you want to briefly come in on that point, and then I'll hand over to Ms. Barrett, who I think wishes to come in on the same point.
Noise can be subjective, but environmental health officers are trained and qualified to provide expert evidence on whether a given level of noise is a nuisance, and they will give evidence on that to courts, not necessarily daily, because it doesn't necessarily come up daily, but certainly they will give evidence that a given level of noise is a public nuisance without needing to refer to a noise meter. They will always say, it is my experience, my qualification, that my expert position is that this is a public nuisance, and that's the basis on which noise nuisance, when you're looking at the evidence from a noise environmental health officer, is given.
Thank you, Mr. Levitt. Ms. Barrett, did you want to come in on this point? You're on mute, Ms. Barrett.
Sorry, I was just going to point out, so agreed with what Mr. Levitt has just said. Just to point out in terms of if Mr. Godwin wants to consider and discuss levels. So one of the things that Ms. Moffat was to have done since November was for the noise management plan to be done. And then as a result of that, any levels that needed to be set within her own premises would have been done in conjunction with the environmental health officer. That has not been done to date. That was all I was going to say to you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Councillor Da Costa, would you like to ask your questions of Ms. Moffat and her representative?
Yes, I do, Chair. Just before I do that, can I just ask the licensing officer to reconfirm something? Has a noise management plan been submitted for the premises variation on the 4th of November?
Not that, sorry, am I on mute? Not that I.
No, you're not on mute.
Okay.
Okay.
Not that I can speak to, Chair. So the condition was for the noise management plan provided by a qualified sound engineer or acoustician. The noise management plan to provide provisions dealing with noise and disturbance and so forth. And the local authority has approved the plan with the licensee setting out controls that will be put in place for use of the outside area and how they will be controls and control of patrons on Spurs match and event days and other days. So no, I cannot say that I've seen that document, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Chair, if I may ask now questions of the notice giver. Thank you. Miss Moffat, I've got a couple of questions for you. The police have stated they've issued blanket TENS objections to all venues in and around the area, and all other venues have seemingly agreed to this, and you are challenging that. Your existing license already permits alcohol till 00:30 hours, music late night refreshments to 0100 hours, and opening to 0130 hours on Fridays and Saturdays. Why are you then applying for the TENS if you already have extended hours at weekends?
No, I haven't got those. That's not what my license says at the moment. It says at 10 o'clock.
Okay, I'll put a pin. I'll put a pin in that for the moment then, because I might need to get some clarification from the legal officer and Miss Barrett, because in the bundle on page 23 is a premises license that has different hours. So let's, could we get clarification on that, please?
If I can take that, I think the answer
Yes,
to that
please.
that is, although I haven't been directly involved since, as it happened, I was advising on the 4th of November. It could well be that what has been put in the bundle is the license as it would have been varied were the conditions of its variation complied with. Whereas what Ms. Moffat is talking about is the fact that because she hasn't complied with those conditions, it hasn't yet been so varied.
Ah, fair enough. Okay, that makes sense. So then, apologies, the question I've asked is not relevant then because, okay. So with regards to your application itself, I think there's a significant amount of clarification needed. Can you confirm whether the TENS is for continuous use from 2200 hours on the 12th of June to 0100 hours on the 17th of June, a total of 99 consecutive hours?
No. So it's just for the days where the concert is on, when because my license closed, my agreement now finishes at 10 o'clock. That's the time where the concert comes down as well. So no, we lose a lot of trade going. Local people can't come to the restaurant anyway. There's nowhere to park, and it's the only time we have customers on this high road is when there's events at the stadium. So all the businesses on this high road try to take the opportunities to make something, some money to keep going because we're struggling on this high road. As everybody knows, the whole country is struggling at the moment. So to get that footfall is just like a dream come true. And it's quite worrying to hear the police saying that if we, for the next 3 months, any events what goes on at the stadium, any TENS won't be approved, because that is quite worrying. Because to be honest with you, I think all our businesses will fold, because being on that high road, that's the only time we can say we can generate any income to keep going.
Okay.
And but what I don't seem to understand, sir, there's other premises, and there's like, the Tottenham Community Centre has burger vans and different things going on there, but they still can trade after the games, and they're not even fixed on this high road. They just come in when events days are on. So it's quite mixed things I'm getting. So I'm not, I just feel like I'm being a victim in some kind of way. Maybe it's not, because I could say truly Dealing has always been supportive and stuff like that. But I just feel like at this moment in time where my business has got more cost entailed to it, more business rates, everything else, and I'm not being able to trade, and I'm losing loads of those days because of the stadium events anyway. So I don't know how I'm gonna survive, really and truly, because 2 years ago when Beyonce was in, I had the license from the same 10 o'clock, and they extended it to 11:30 to 12. And and we did amazing. We did, so like it was a life-changing experience, and I've never hid that from anyone. I've always said with the Beyonce show coming in that 2 years ago, that's what made me possible to be staying where I am and to get to the large size I am, because I was able to generate some kind of income to be able to pay certain things to have it happen. With a monitor and a sound engine and the proof of what needs to be done for the next step, I've just literally scraped all the savings I can get to get that underway. So that's going to be starting from tomorrow, where they're going to come. So they'll be getting the documents on their table. But just to raise £5,000 is not easy for a small independent business on the high road at all, with the cost of everything going on.
Okay, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, the challenge is, as Ms. Barrett has pointed out, those conditions are conditions from the license variation of the 4th of November, but let's continue with this application. Your application, as has been pointed out by both of the objectors, is vague. You did not
Yeah.
provide a program, schedule, or any evidence of planning or risk mitigation in the application. You simply put down music, food, and drink. So could you please
Okay.
explain in detail what type of event is being proposed on each of the nights and what mitigation you'll put in place for overcrowding, security, etc.?
So the previous time we had when I applied for the 10th, is just things, you know, they I think it was Zelia herself came back and said these and this is what we need. These are conditions, what we need to do. And I took it as that because on the form, it doesn't ask for those specifics. So I didn't know how, we didn't apply it onto that, but I know that we've got 3-4 securities on hand. We have over 10 staff on duty on that day. That's from bar staff to kitchen staff to toilet supervisors. Like literally, I've literally got someone I've employed someone just to monitor the toilets, because it's a unisex one. So we've got 4 cubicles, and literally after even the police and everybody else using it, it gets really, messy. So I've got somebody employed for that facility, just make sure everything runs smoothly over there. We've got someone who floats around to the TLR decking because we don't want anyone smoking cigarettes or no alcohol or anything to be so people can go for fresh air through the back and not loitering around the front. So when it comes to the car park is being run by the Camry themselves, where they do event day parking. So with that, I haven't even thought of that, including that in my remit, because that's not my property and that's not run by me. So that's why I was quite surprised when they said they found certain things there. That has not literally got nothing to do with me at all. So with inside the premises and the toilets area to the decking area, I have security who monitors that and monitors the front, and I've got securities who comes in and out. So we monitor how many people is in, who's in and out, and just making sure everybody's safe.
Okay, but why didn't you include that in the application? Because this has to be considered by a panel. This information is useful for the panel and objectors as well. None of this was included.
I'll can't even say my ignorance, because it didn't say anything to state to put that on there. 2 years ago, when I filled in safe form, Delia herself came back to me. This was called, can you clarify what you're doing? So even if you're having a DJ, the name of the DJ, then it was called the website of the DJ and what type of things you're going to be doing. So I was always under a notion that it's going to come to me back. If anything, any questions or anything is going to come right back at me, because the licensing, they've always been good communication between me and them. So I just thought, let me put the dates in and stuff like that. And the dates, when you say the whole time, I know the last time I put up to 1 o'clock, I think it was even I put to 2 o'clock, we came to an agreement. Gina, we won't be able to give you that 2 o'clock, but we can work out this and that, and we can give you up to 12 o'clock. You have to let everybody out by 11:30. And so the agreement was always, so I always knew that window was always open, that if any concerns or anything, we'll be able to discuss it, or they will be able to tell me, Gina, and I didn't get it at this scenario. And that was what I was quite surprised at that. And then when the police are saying they spoke to all the other businesses, no one has spoken to me. I didn't even know any incident of that sort happened at the boxing match, because at the boxing match at this end, there was no, they could tell you what end the reports happened at. It was nowhere near here. So when they say that, is mostly down the other end, from where you're going up to the stadium, and Baker's Field Arms, another pub down there, because when I was driving, I could see what commotion was going on up there, but on this I road, nothing, no incident or anything has been reported. So I wasn't even aware of that anything like that happened. So no one from the police, no one from licensing saying this is what the concern. So we're not going to be putting it out. We were not going to grant any tenders, any tens or anything like that, because of this is what happened. For me to even have the opportunity to say, oh, okay, that was not communicated to me at all. So I feel like I've been on this high road for a while now. For me to not have been included in that is quite worrying. And I'm thinking I had a great relationship with the council and the noise team and anybody else, even the police. So for me to have not been included in that discussion, I would really like to know what businesses was included in that discussion. Because everybody else, I've got evidence on TikTok, Instagram, all the after parties, what happened on this road, this strip here, and they're saying Tens wasn't given. I don't see how that was possible. And I've got photograph evidence. I couldn't even leave my premises because by the time the staff finished at 10 o'clock, the stadium finished. Nowhere, we can't get out. So we're in here and literally people are banging the door to use toilets to come in, and I couldn't open because 10 o'clock on the dot. Before that, we shut the doors and barricaded ourselves in because we couldn't trade, and we was under arrest anyway because we couldn't get out of the premises because everywhere was full.
Thank you, Ms. Moffat. Ms. Barrett, did you want to briefly come in on this point?
Sorry, Chair, just to clarify, so Ms. Moffat has just mentioned about double standards in terms of what's going on in front of the Tottenham Sports Centre. Just to say that the Sports Centre hire out their land and there are traders that are on that land, and the contract is between them and the Tottenham Sports Centre. It is not a licensing issue. They do not fall under licensing or anything like that. And it's a different matter and certainly a different provision from what you are operating under the Licensing Act 2003. Okay, so that's the difference there. In terms of the communication, so there has been, and I understand that Spurs have been sharing information and so with businesses and residents as they do as part of the run up to these events. It's not my understanding that the police sent out anything to say that there was any kind of a blanket ban on these on tents. I think what the officer has said is that they've taken a view, on the back of the recent issues, and you've just spoken about the on-street issues that were taking place following the boxing and so forth, which did impact a lot on residents. And so, now there is still that requirement to ensure that the objectives are being observed and will be promoted. And like I've said before, it does not mean that there is a blanket ban going forward at all. That is not what the police are saying here today. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Councillor Da Costa, do you have any further questions?
No further questions, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do the police have any questions for Ms. Moffat or her representative?
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Da Costa already asked the question that I had with regards to this application, and this was about, because today we're discussing the application that has been refused, not the license or the variation. So my question was in relation to describing the nature of the event that was to take place during specific dates, but Council's put the question through. So there's very little in the actual form. It's just the music, food and drink. So I was going to ask Ms. Moffat to elaborate on that, but that's been answered already. So thank you.
Thank you. So I understand you have no further questions. Ms. Barrett, did you want to come in?
Sorry, Chair, just for further clarification, in emails with Mr. Godwin last week, I did say if he'd wanted to submit any written reasonings for yourselves to be shared with yourselves on, for this hearing, they were able to do so. But in one of the emails he'd submitted, he had said that it wasn't an event, it was for his client to be able to just operate for later hours. The previous, Ms. Moffat has mentioned previous tens when Beyonce first came. On the application, it actually mentioned DJ being used and so forth, which then made us ask the question, who is the DJ? How is it being advertised and that sort of thing? But on this occasion, from what Mr. Godwin has said in his emails, that it was just an extension of the business. It wasn't an event that was being proposed.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. So this brings us to the end of this part of the meeting. The councillors will now go to a separate meeting where we will deliberate on our decision, and then we will rejoin this call to communicate our decision. So I'd be grateful if the parties could stay on this call for a few minutes while we decide. We'll come back and we'll communicate our decision to you verbally, and then in the coming days you will receive a fully drafted decision in writing. So thank you, everyone. The councillors will be back on this call very shortly once we've taken our decision.
Hello, Councillor Adamu.
Yes, hi.
Could you please leave the meeting room? Just leave the meeting room, and I wait for my
Oh,
call. If you could just
I'm
leave the meeting.
sorry.
Yeah, if you could just leave.
And I'm going to the loo, and I'll be back in a minute.
Right.
Councillor Adami with us? So,
Don't think any of the three councillors have rejoined us yet.
I'm here and so is Councillor Da Costa.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. Yes.
No worries.
Councillor Adami, are you with?
If you go over to page 2, it becomes clearer.
So I
Catherine?
think we are all here.
Sorry, Councillor Adami, are you with us?
She is.
Yes,
She's
of
over on
course.
page
Yeah,
2.
yeah. I am.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, Naz, are we happy to proceed?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So the councillors have deliberated and we have decided not to grant the TENS for this to go ahead. The full reasoning will be provided 24 hours or more before the event was scheduled to start. We will endeavour to do so earlier than that, but you will certainly have it more than 24 hours in advance. But our decision is that this TENS should not go ahead. So thank you everyone for your time, and you will hear in writing. You will receive the decision in writing in due course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you.